Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Lauren's Scraplot. Hopefully we're live. My computer's having fun today, so that's all right. We're just gonna roll with it, and if I have to refilm this, that's okay. So hi, my name is Lauren Urbonis, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Every Tuesday, I love to pop on and give you a little episode called Show Me How It's Done, where I play with a little product or a suite and show you how I've made a specific set of projects. So today I have to switch you over to a different camera. Here we go. There we go. Today I have a really fun assortment of designs to show you. And actually the one that we're making is not even one of the three that you see here because I was having too much fun playing. But the gist of it is I'm playing with the Gorgeous Garden dies. These are found in our annual catalog, and I've used them to make a variety of backgrounds on my cards. And so I'm going to show you how you can do that today and how you can make a very simple and a whole whack of cards all at once. So the pages that you see in front of me for these papers here, they're from the Inked Botanicals Designer Series paper, and that also is in the annual catalog. However, I wanted to show something from the holiday catalog, so I opened a brand new package of these Garden Walk Designer Series paper, and there are a whole bunch of designs that you could choose from. So today I just plucked one out of the back, and I'm going to use this nice greenery piece because I figured, it's just fall starting, so we can do something in that regard. So this card, unfortunately, you do have to own the dies in order to replicate it, or you have to own something similar, like a background die. But let me show you how to make these cards, and then you can join me and watch the replay once you've ordered them. So to start, we're going to need a piece of basic white cardstock. You're going to cut this at 4 1/4 by 11 and put a score mark right down the middle at 5 1/2. This piece ends up getting folded in half, and it will become your card base. Now for the inside of our card, usually I do just a white piece of paper, but we're making this one a little fancier because these are actually congratulations cards for my team this month because I like to celebrate their achievements from the previous month. So at the top 3 in sales, they always get a little card, and then once our reports are finalized, we can also celebrate the top 3 of the year last year because September 30th was the last day of the Stampin' Up! Year. I know, that's kind of funny. Anyways, so long story short, need to make these fancy because they're for some very special people. So I've cut myself a piece of wild wheat. That's just the color I thought complemented my green piece nicely. And this piece is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4. Of course, if you're choosing another color, then you can go ahead and pick whatever you'd like for that card. Ooh, there we go. So this is just going on the very inside of the card. And now, because I've put a color on, I have to add white again. So I've cut one piece that is 3 3/4 by 5. And we're going to decorate it with just a little bit of our leftover designer paper. So we'll start with this piece. You can stamp on this, you can write on this. It's totally up to you. And then on the very bottom, when I cut my designer series paper, so this is a piece that's 4 inches by 5 1/2, because that will fit perfectly with my die here. I end up with this tiny little 1/2 inch piece if I was using that 6 inch square. So I'm going to cut this at 3/4 of an inch wide, or half, whatever you're left with, and by 4 inches. And this piece just goes along the bottom of your card with some sort of adhesive. You don't have to add this part, but it's a great use of your scraps, and it kind of ties your card together quite nicely. Okay, so here's the inside of my card. Now I need to focus on the front. So I'm going to move this base out of my way, and I'm going to grab my massive cut and emboss machine. And then you have to choose which die you prefer. So I will give you a couple pointers. If you want something super elegant and intricate, the flowers are going to be your choice, but you will need to have some sort of scissors or the take your pick pokey end in order to get some of these finer details out. The leaves are going to be a lot quicker for you, but of course they aren't necessarily as delicate. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You can use either. I'm going to use the leaves just because it'll be easier to show you how this works. Right. So hopefully you can see this. I've got my cut and emboss machine here. On the very bottom, I have my large platform. Then I've got that skinny little shim. And then I've got one of my clear plates on top that you can clearly see has seen better days. Then we're going to put your piece of designer paper down. The side that you want to see, you're going to keep facing up, okay? And then this die, if you cut your paper to the measurements I told you, which was 4 inches by 5.5, you should be able to have just the slightest border all the way around, okay? And you want to, you will want to keep that border because it's going to be shown on the front of your card, okay? So just keep like the slightest little border all the way around, and then we're going to put this on top. You will end up trimming a little bit off later from the paper, but it's easier to cut with this flexibility. Okay, sorry, this is very interesting because I'm doing this sideways on my table. There we go. Okay, go forward and back at least twice, okay? You want all of those fine details to come out, and it's easier to do this while it's still just in the machine, okay? So back and forth twice. Yours will be faster because you'll go front. And then we're going to have to grab either your scissors or one of the take your pick tools just to gently start pressing some of these pieces out. But some of them are quite large. They will cover, you know, quite a few spaces. So it'll just take a couple minutes of your time. And I like to do this while the paper is still in the die. I just find it a lot easier than cleaning my paper out and then cleaning my die out separately. And just do it all at once. They're falling out very, very easily. If I was to take the paper off right now, I probably would be able to take some out a little quicker, but I like to keep my dies clean too. So, oh, that was fast. There we go. Okay. Then turn it over, and you're going to have to be very gentle as you pull this up, because there's a lot of detail to these dies. So just go around the entire perimeter, just kind of gently pull the paper away from the die, and eventually you'll end up with this nice looking die here, okay? All of your scraps can go to the side. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to put this on the front of our card. But if you want, this would be a good time to do a little bit of trimming. If you had like a little breakage here, you can kind of trim that off, or we can just hide it and nobody will really notice. It's not going to be a big deal, but I think I am going to grab my trimmer and just cut off a tiny bit at the top, just so that it fits on the card a little nicer. So turn that over. Barely slicing anything off. I think I'm going to even this side out. There we go. So it's up to you. You can kind of trim the edges as much as you like. Overall, it's quite easy to just put onto the card like this. Now, if you have the Tombow liquid glue, you can use that to put this piece on flat. However, I think it looks gorgeous if you pop this up on dimensionals. So what we're going to do is we're not putting dimensionals on every little leaf, don't get me wrong, but we are going to try and put them kind of just on the perimeter to start with of your project. So on the largest of the leaves, we're going to make sure to add a mini dimensional back there. And we're going to start having these kind of stand up on their own. It's an extra detail, you don't have to do it, but it does look really pretty if you do. And don't worry about any of those small leaves, just the larger leaves here. Okay. So that's probably about good. You don't need too many, just enough to support it. Off all of the backings. This will go straight onto the card. Got one piece stuck. Oops. It's tricky to do above me. Sorry, I'm going to bring this down so I can see it. Hard to do when I can't, when it's way out in front of me. Okay, there you go. Now it's all nice. Okay, so this is pretty and ready to go, unless you want to add a little bit of detail. So I've decided I wanted to add a sentiment right here. So I've cut myself out the smallest of the nested essential dies in basic white, and then the next size up in vellum. And this way I'm going to do a little stamping of my sentiment on this one here, and then layering it on the vellum over here. And again, I'm sorry, my camera is clearly not focusing well right now. Must continue playing with settings, I think. But we'll get through the video and that'll be fine. Okay, so I'm grabbing the congratulations set for myself. That set is coming to you. Where's my stamp set? From the Wonderful Thoughts stamp. So these dies, they don't actually have a stamp that they're glued to, but I really liked how this congratulations kind of filled up the whole space. So that's what I'm going to use. And I've got my Pretty Peacock ink. Tap, tap, tap. Right in the center. Yeah. Now up on dimensionals for this one as well. And you can layer that onto the vellum backing. And then if you want to pop this piece up on dimensionals as well, you can turn this over and just put dimensionals under the area that the white is covering, because you don't want them showing through your vellum. That wouldn't look very nice. So just under any of the area that your white tag in the front is covered. Right in the middle here. And now, before we add any embellishments, we're going to do something fun. You might notice a little bit of speckling on this one here. And we're going to play with that on this card too. So task number one is always going to have to be find a scrap. So I use a lot of the cardstock that comes with the designer series paper. You're going to need an ink block and then a re-inker in whichever color you want to do your splatters in. Okay, so I've chosen Sweet Sorbet because that's the red that's hiding in here. I'm just going to put a dot of color onto my ink block. You don't need a lot. Then you need one of our Aqua painters filled with water or rubbing alcohol, it's up to you. So mine are blue because they're the really old ones. They will work exactly the same as the new white ones. The white ones just have a variety of different brush tips. Okay, so we're gonna squeeze a little bit of water out and then just swirl that up. So we've made kind of a little palette for ourselves onto our clear block here. Now, I would suggest if this is your first time to maybe move your project and just do a little test. See what happens when you tap, tap, tap on your brush when it's really wet. You've got to make sure you've got lots of water on it. So tap, 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 and see kind of what happens. Because if you're really heavy-handed when you first do this, you might end up getting blotches on your card. So we want just little bits. And if you kind of hold it up higher, it'll be a little bit more forgiving for you. Just tapping, tapping, tapping to get as much color onto here as you would like, okay? And the nice thing is if you tap lightly, you can always come back and add a little bit more. But if you're really heavy and you have splotches, it'll be really hard to take that back, okay? So there we go. And then you'll want to clean this when you're done just by rubbing it onto scrap paper. And then you can just rinse your ink block under cold water. It'll come right off. So there's our card so far. To finish it off, I thought I would use a few of our adhesive back sequins. So I'm just going to grab those, and really you can add them anywhere to the project that you like. That's a little crowded. I don't know. Put them, where did I put them? Here. I think I left more room on that. Okay, there we go. Had more room bottom here. So you can either put them up top or down below, whatever works for you. So there you go. I'll bring in these ones too. So this was just using a different kind of paper. And then this was the inked Botanicals. And they're all really fun. You can use whatever color combination you like, whatever paper pack you have in store. So there you go. Sorry about the off color and non-focusing and stuff, but hopefully you still enjoyed today's video, and I'd love to see if you give it a try. Maybe just tag me in your posts or send me a picture. I'd love to see it. So I will see you guys next Tuesday for another edition of Show Me How It's Done, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.